Today we're going to spend a little time reviewing equations and inequalities. So we're going to start off here solving equations. Solving equations just means we're trying to figure out what x is. We're going to solve for x usually in 2 steps, sometimes 3 steps. So when we solve equations, when we're trying to figure out what x is, we're always going to use inverse operations to undo the equation. We undo addition or subtraction, we undo multiplication or division, isolate the variable, check our work. So to undo addition or subtraction, that just means we're always going to look at the addition or subtraction first. We've got plus 7, so I undo that by subtracting 7. I do the inverse operation, opposite operation. So I subtract 7 on both sides, which gets rid of that. 31 minus 7 is 24. Now we bring down our 6 times x. We bring down our equal sign. So after undoing that addition, we now have 6 times x equals 24. We undo multiplication with division. So I divide by 6 on both sides because 6 divided by 6 makes 1. I've got 1x now. And 24 divided by 6 equals 4. Check your work. You could go back and plug 4 in for x. 6 times 4 plus 7. Does that equal 31? 6 times 4 is 24 plus 7 equals 31. So we know we did it correctly. All right, before we start on inequalities, I'll jump down to the bottom here and just do a couple more practice solving equations. So we always want to draw our line. We start with our plus 4. Opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. So subtract 4 on both sides. 4 minus 4 makes nothing. 25 minus 4 is 21. Bring down your negative 3 times x. Bring down your equal sign. So negative 3 times x equals 21. Opposite of times is divide. So we divide by negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1. I've got 1x equals 21 divided by negative 3 is negative 7. Positive divided by a negative equals a negative. Okay. Go back and check. Means I'm going to plug negative 7 in for x. Negative 3 times negative 7 makes positive 21. And 21 plus 4 equals 25. Okay, here I've got a fraction. I'm still going to draw my line down the equal sign. I'm always going to start with my addition or subtraction. I've got minus 14. So I'm going to add 14, do the opposite on both sides of the equation. That again makes 0. Negative 6 plus 14. I've got a negative and a positive. Okay, my positive side wins by 8. 14 minus 6 is 8. Bring down my equals, bring down my half times x. Okay. Now, this is 1/2 times x. It is multiplication, so I could divide by 1/2. All right? If you had a calculator, you could just divide by 1/2. But we should know that when we divide by a half, it's like multiplying by 2. To divide fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. So I can just go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal. I flip that fraction to get 1x equals 8 times 2 is 16. We'll check it. 1/2 times 16 minus 14 equals 1/2 times 16 makes 8. 8 minus 14 makes negative 6. Okay, now we'll go back up and talk about inequalities. So when dividing by a negative, So our first thing we're going to remember, whenever we divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, we flip the sign. We're going to flip the inequality symbol. To check your work, choose a value that is within the range, we'll talk about that later, of the inequality and plug in the number. If it is correct, then you should get a true statement. All right, so here's our first example we'll do real quick. So again, just like when solving equations, we're going to use inverse operations. We're going to undo the equation, but we're going to get a set, all solutions. We're not just going to get one solution. So I see minus 5. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. 25 plus 5 is 30. Negative 1/2 times x is less than 30. Okay, so again, just like down here, I've got 1/2. I had 1/2 times x. Here I've got negative 1/2 times x. So I can flip the fraction. I'm going to multiply by negative 2/1 on both sides, because negative 2/1 times negative 1/2 just cancels out and equals 1. I am going to flip the sign because I just multiplied by a negative. 30 times negative 2 is negative 60. So as soon as you multiply or divide by that negative, when you're working with an inequality, flip your sign. Okay. Then we do need to graph our inequalities. We're going to graph the inequality statement on a number line to represent all solutions. Our graph shows us all the possible answers, not just the one answer for x. It shows us all the possible answers. When we graph, if we've got this closed dot, that means it could be greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. If we've got an open dot, that means it can just be greater than or less than. And then we also worked with just some word problems where we had to decide. There was some language and then a chart we kind of got used to, which meant each one of these signs. So some examples would be, for this sign less than, of course, you might read less than, could be fewer than, or smaller than. This one, less than or equal to, could say at most, no more than, or maximum or at maximum. Next, we've got greater than or equal to. We could also see is at least, or it could say at minimum. We've got greater than, more than, or larger than. And then for our equal sign, whenever we're reading one of these sentences, is will mean equals, same, or of course, equal. Okay, we'll do 2 of these practice problems and graph. So I'll draw my line. I've got parentheses here, so I could distribute this 2. I could do 2 times x, 2 times 4, and rewrite it. But the quicker way of doing this, since this is 2 times the quantity of x plus 4, I can just go ahead and divide by 2 on both sides. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Bring down my symbol. I now just have x plus 4 because 2 divided by 2 makes 1. So now 8 is less than x plus 4. I look at my plus 4 and subtract 4. Do the opposite. 8 minus 4 is 4. I do not need to flip my sign. I didn't divide or multiply by a negative. So same sign. Okay, 4 is less than x, or x is greater than 4. So when I go to graph this, four is less than x, or if you need to read it backwards, x is greater than 4. I know I need an arrow pointing at numbers greater than 4. And I need an open dot because it is not equal to, it is just greater, numbers greater than. So this graph is showing me all the solutions to this inequality. My number could be anything greater than 4. So if I wanted to check my answer, I just have to pick a number greater than 4. So let's just go ahead and pick 6. If I plug 6 in, okay, I could go ahead and, well, I'll just go ahead and multiply. So I'll do 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8. 12 plus 8 is 20. Is 16 less than 20? Yes. So I know this is true. All right, one more. Draw our line. Always start with minus or addition. So I've got a minus 2. I'll add 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. Bring down my sign. Bring down my negative. 5 times x. Opposite of negative 5 times x is divide by negative 5. And I just said divide by negative 5, so that means I need to flip my sign. I'm dividing by a negative. I get x is less than 10 divided by negative 5. That's negative 2. So our graph I'd have a point at negative 2. X is less than negative 2, so I'll point at numbers less than negative 2, and I'll leave it open because it's not equal to negative 2 and less than, it's just less than negative 2.